And so this is my journey. My name is Khoi. I'm from New York City. I'm a creative director. I came here wondering how I could overcome grief, the sadness that I've held for the past year and a half, the passing of my daughter. So much of this grief just sat inside of me, stored away. It actually affected me beyond my own understanding. My whole back, when I came here, the past 3 months have just been, I've had all these spasms, just kind of sat me crooked. And so on my return to Nimea Kaya, this is my third retreat, it was really important for me to understand my connection between my sadness and how that's stored inside of me. And so when I came here, I had pretty clear intentions with the medicine, but I didn't really understand what she had in store for me. The thing about Nimea Kaya is that it's such a special place because there's a commitment. There's a commitment to your own personal healing. And all the people that travel here, they make the experience truly what it is. I was the only person who had sat with the medicine before. There are 11 other guests, but the experience of connecting with people and sharing my journey alongside seeing their growth and transformation is also pivotal to your own personal learning with the medicine. And so the way I'll kind of express my journey is, I would say the big kind of macro theme is overcoming grief and sadness, as the death of your child is something that no one ever should ever have to experience. So my wife came here to the women's retreat in April, and it was my journey. This was my time to heal. And throughout the 4 ceremonies, ayahuasca showed me something in chapters. The first chapter was about overcoming. It was about overcoming and understanding why I suppressed the pain and understanding the other pieces that were even more prevalent in my life. So not only was I dealing with this grief, I was dealing with some other things that felt like betrayal, and I've learned to forgive those people, and that was the part one. Alongside of it, with all healing comes so much purging, and it's a testament to the facilitators. I am the man of 1,000 purges. But the thing about purging is that purging is a gift. Purging is something that allows you to release all the pain, all the toxicity inside of you that you've stored. And so the first ceremony was really facing that, trusting the medicine that shall show you exactly what you need to feel and to move through those emotions. And so, having it being my 8th time sitting with ayahuasca, the first ceremony here, I was shot right back into my mat in 2019, as it's been 6 years. But to be honest, the time gap was really important for me to kind of build and understand a level of my intentions, and that ability to kind of understand and process as ayahuasca kind of takes you through this journey was really, really deep. And it kind of like felt like I was in a boxing match. Round one, all good. And then moving into the second ceremony, what's also really beautiful is that facilitators, they offer um, energy work. They offer the opportunity to discover your inner child. And I would say chapter 2 is really about finding that inner child and nurturing that younger version of Khoi who got lost somewhere along the way. And so the way that I was able to make the connections from the first ceremony, where so much of it was letting go of the grief and the pain that was stored inside, I started to realize that in my second ceremony, in preparation for it, there was this beautiful discovery when I was working with Natty, and she offered something really important. It's called somatic energy work. And inside of this energy work, it was post ayahuasca ceremony. There was this beautiful embedding of energy that I've just never had before. Because when you lose a child, your heart, it just starts to weep. And your mind and your sacral is completely disconnected because your heart is so wounded. And so in the second ceremony, in preparation and throughout, there was kind of an embedding within the spirits of just my daughter, who's named Light, her energy and her spirit really coming inside of me. And it was almost as if I had, like, your sacral chakra is your root. It's like the core of your being, especially from a man. That's where your energy, your creativity lies. And as a creative person, this is like one of my greatest gifts. But it felt like over the past year and a half that one of my limbs was completely struck by lightning. It was as if a part of me had just been laying there, just in full decay, and no one had tended to that broken branch. And throughout the second ceremony, what was so powerful was that throughout my process of healing, I started to heal and recognize that I needed to amputate this limb. I needed to be rid of it as it got hit by lightning twice. And in order to do that was to lean into my breath, was to lean into what ayahuasca was telling me about, boy, this is how you will heal yourself. It starts with you and allowing the space for light to come in, allowing the space for the energy to tend to your inner garden. And so if you can imagine, there's a tree inside of me. In that second ceremony, there were so many tears. And what's beautiful is when you cry, there's salt that comes out. And these were kind of my tears of alchemy. Tears just flowed down from me deep into my sacral chakra. And then I started to notice a tremendous change in my body. I felt like everything was alive again. Like the grass was growing. There were even little critters. I saw my son dancing, his long hair flowing. He was listening to Deep House. And it started to build like a sense of rejuvenation inside of me. And then as I transitioned into the second ceremony, I started to pull all these pieces together and started to realize, what was the purpose of life? What was the purpose of Light's life? What was it meant for? She was in her second trimester when we lost her. And it was really, really painful. But to truly understand her purpose and her choice to leave the earthly realm, to become a spirit, my wife took away this message from ayahuasca 6 months ago. And it was only through in the second ceremony did I really understand what she received. That download, which is, our baby has become an angel. And she's decided what she wants to do with life. And in the second ceremony, she embedded herself truly inside of me as a ray of light that just truly gave life to me inside. And that life started to kickstart into my third ceremony. And so I did a session with Rachel around really understanding the psychology of healing my inner child. And growing up as a Vietnamese American, I've had struggles with my own personal identity. I've had challenges with understanding where do I fit into this puzzle. I'm not a white American kid. I am American. Vietnamese was my first language, but yet my English wasn't super strong. So where do I fit into this puzzle? And I've kind of just I haven't been able to pinpoint this sadness or anxiety or this anger until I sat down and closed my eyes with Rachel. What's so beautiful about knowing Rachel is that Rachel was my wife's deep connection and a friend at the women's retreat 6 months ago at Nimea Kaya. So I knew there was going to be an instant connection because she knew the story of light. She knew the story of Patty and mine. So she allowed the space for me to go back and go visit that inner child. And we identified that somewhere between my fourth and eighth grade self, that's where the most vulnerable parts of me from 9 to 13 was completely lost. And it makes sense. It was that preteen age where you're so susceptible to peer pressure, lack of identity. And so it started to connect so many things in my mind that, like, that rebellious kid, that spirit has stayed with me. And it kind of has been this challenging ability to navigate. Do I embrace this kid? Do I reject him? And so going into this third ceremony, I started to recognize that I really needed to bring young Khoi into me, into this healing process. And I remember it so vividly. It was, okay, Khoi, now that you have overcome the grief, you've accepted and understood the purpose of how light could now take on a new form inside of you. What does that mean? How do I carry this forward? And so my third ceremony, this was all about discovering Megara. And so Gara was taught to me about 18 years ago when I was studying abroad in Spain. I had a professor who told us about why bullfighters are so unique. And she explained that they all have this Gara essence. It's like, ¿qué es Gara? And I forgot about it, completely forgot about it until third ceremony when I needed to find my Gara. Because what I realized, in order for me to fully heal and grow into this new version of myself, I needed to find the inner strength inside of me. I needed to find that confidence, that swag, all the things, that self-belief that allow you to become your truest self. And of course, I speak a little bit of Spanish. And as I was going through the process, so much purging was happening. And I was almost running away from the strength. I literally had stopped the shaman midway and was like, un momento. And I thought I needed to go purge, but I was almost just running away from it. And I saw the maestro later on, and he's like, no, tienes más. Despierte fuerte. I was like, okay. So I went outside, had my moments, sat with the medicine, came right back. And that's when I truly understood what was waiting for me. This was the strength. This was my inner warrior. And the inner warrior showed up in a way that I could not have imagined. A spirit that was so powerful that it allowed me to almost channel a lot of my inner ancestors, as well as the masculine side of ayahuasca. Kind of that intuition, as well as, let's call it, the male strength, coños. So with intuition and coños, I found my gara, which prepared me for the final ceremony, which I kind of going into it, I was a little unsure of. Like, I've had 3 very intense ceremonies that have allowed me to heal, to connect with my inner child, and then to find my strength. What's left? Like, what is left for me to experience? What is left for me to see in my body? And ayahuasca had the greatest gift in the world for me. It's in the fourth ceremony is when she showed me God. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person who believes that there are no coincidences in life. You know, Outliers is one of my favorite books. Um, and so we had actually the group size had gotten smaller. We were down to 6 guests at the end, and I have a favorite spot. It's right by the door on the larger side, and I've sat in that spot twice. No, 3 times already. It's just my spot. I sit there, and right beforehand we decided to switch. I ended up deciding to sit on the other side of the room, maybe just. But no, of course, ayahuasca has its way. And Connor, one of my guest mates, just kind of ran to my room and was like, Khoi, can we switch? You go right back to the spot you like. I was like, okay, fine. And I think what's really important about this little detail is that one of the books that has been guiding me over the past few years is called The Atomic Habit. And The Atomic Habit is, if you haven't read it, it's the ability to change your life or to change your perspective, but not have the expectation that it's going to happen overnight. But the idea that 1 degree of change daily over the course of time creates a massive shift in your perspective, in your ability to see the world at a different angle. And of course, as all poetry and all literature does, it shows up exactly as it needs to. And so, coming back to the story of the fourth ceremony, was on my mat and I had experienced like violent purging and convulsion and just so much of it. And so, as it's just really important to understand, like, facilitators are here to help. They're here to sit with you and hold space. And to Rachel, so much thanks and gratitude. You've held space for me. You've been there to be a rock for me, my family. And you came to me as exactly as ayahuasca should. And you sat with me. I needed that feminine spirit. I needed that. I needed that warrior spirit. And as I was purging, I felt alone. I felt completely naked. I felt like in that moment I was forgiven for all my mistakes, all my sins, all the times that I just wasn't clear about my language and I might have hurt somebody. And instead of just holding it in as I have, ayahuasca showed me you are forgiven only if you believe. And that's when I found God. And God told me, Khoi, you are truly forgiven. If only you can forgive yourself. You made the choice to come here to heal. You came to Nimea Kaya, not because someone told you, because after 6 years, she called you. She knew it was your time. And it was my choice and my decision that was the most important thing. I didn't come to prove anybody. And this is why I love my wife so much. Because she knew I needed this trip to heal, to find my strength again. And in this moment, God showed me something with ayahuasca. It was like 2 maestros. We took a hit of hape, and through that spirit, I rolled back over, and Rachel was still there. She didn't leave me. She stayed with me as a friend, as the human embodiment of somebody that I needed. And I thought of my mom, and I realized my mom has always loved me. She's always cared for me. She never, I had made up stories about how my childhood was whatever. It was all stories. It was all something that wasn't true. And in that moment, I gave Rachel a huge hug. And I thanked her for her friendship. I thanked her and I told her this was the beginning of a really beautiful bond between me, you, Kevin, Patty, because ayahuasca has blessed our families. And she, as perfectly left, allowed the space to go. And I was on my mat, just in this moment, just being like, okay. And I thought of my dog, Cusco. I thought of my son, Aketsley, my wife, Patty. I was like, what else is there to show me? And she rolled me over on all fours. And she said, Khoi, go just look outside. Look outside. And the answers are there. And I rose up. I stared into the jungle. And there was this bright, beautiful star just glowing in the jungle. And what I realized was what I was looking for in my life, I've had the entire time. I have wealth. I have a house. I have a beautiful family who cares about me. I've had incredible jobs. I have a beautiful career. But part of me coming into this, there was this numbness that I could just never let go of. And finally, in this forced ceremony, that numbness was brought to full. It was almost like it was thawed. But it was thawed through this light in the jungle. And that light, of course, it was my daughter. It's my daughter Light. And she just glowed so beautifully in the jungle. And I thought I was hallucinating. I was like, Kevin, please come see. And it confirmed, it's like, this is real. This is like a beautiful ray of light that's just there. And so I sat with him. I was just like, wow. It's like, when I went outside, it's like, I needed to get a closer look at this. Put on my shirt. It's like, let's go. And I went out there. And the hammock, if you have not sat in the hammock, is the most beautiful place to find insights. I sat there and I stared directly into this incredible, it was like staring into like a glowing star that was alive. It was so full of life. It wasn't stagnant. It was just rich, beautiful energy. And light goes pew. There was a second star. And I knew exactly what that was. That was my future daughter. I was like just wiping my house. I was like, give me binoculars. I was like doing this. I was like, I need to see this more clearly. As it almost like if you're looking through like a telescope, just got more clear and clear. And so I closed my eyes. I was like, and I saw her so vividly. I looked at both of my children, both of my daughters. I was like, just ayahuasca, show me who they are. And Light was exactly who she was. She was a beautiful star, an energy burst. And the second Light, I'm just gonna call her Lily Bijou. It's her pseudonym. Lily Bijou, it's just like a little marble. And it grew and grew. And it was a beautiful star. And I could see her. I could see her physicalness. I could see her in the present world. And she'd look just like my son, blonde hair, blue eyes, and just she was going to maintain that. And I transformed back into the original star. And I confirmed something that was told to me in my astrology when I was 12. I had a reading from a Buddhist monk who was it's called a Tu Vi, which is like an astrology reader in Vietnam. He's a famous astrology reader who read with Thich Nhat Hanh, the monk. And in my lineage, in my life story, I was always told that I was going to have all these beautiful things, but I was going to have the death of a child, a burned out star in my life. But then I finally could understand the connection point between her purpose. Her purpose was to be an angel. Her purpose was to show me God. I'm not a man of faith. But now I found this beautiful blend of how ayahuasca creates true spirituality. And that God is actually in everything, it's in all of life. And in that moment, I truly understood why this medicine is called the vine of the soul. Because it truly connects you deep within yourself, and it finds all of the soot and all the toxicity, all the negativity, and it just flushes it away. But with ayahuasca and ayahuasca vines, if you can cut it at the right angle, the vine keeps growing. And I was finally able to amputate my pain and get rid of it. And what was so beautiful about the whole thing, that this life is so full circle. I've learned that my wife and I have been together for 4 different lifetimes. And I knew it was so critical for me to heal and to become this true version of myself. For us to get back into our kayaks and to keep rowing side by side in unison, as that is what life and marriage is about. And so that's how I found peace. That's how I came here, a broken man, and left the best version of me. Aho.